being black in America meant that you didn't walk down the street with the same sense of safety and the sense of privilege as a white person. Attack dogs, fire hoses.
Police jump on you, beat you up, put the gun at your head. This is what we were going through on a daily basis.
How about justice? Justice is incidental to law and order.
Every significant office is going to be raided, bombed, shot, mass arrests.
They were coming to kill us.
When the 15-minute gun battle was over, 2 Black Panthers were dead.
This was obviously a political assassination.
It was like a slaughterhouse.
We don't hate nobody because of their color. We hate oppression.
Jonathan Farrell was unarmed when he died, just a month shy of his 25th birthday.
A mistrial was declared in the case of a white police officer who shot and killed an unarmed black man.
The father of 6 can be heard on the tape saying repeatedly,
"I can't breathe! I can't breathe!"
There needs to be prosecution. That's what this is all about.
Many people simply cannot understand why the grand jury did not indict when they could actually see video of what went down between that New York police officer and Eric Garner.
Michael Brown, an unarmed 18-year-old, was shot and killed during a struggle with a Ferguson police officer.
Officer Darren Wilson will not be indicted.
It's the feeling among many of these people that black lives don't matter. Not one reason did this grand jury find to indict him.
I ask a question.
Yes.
How can we be promised that this injustice will happen again to another black kid
in another state tomorrow?
How can we assure our kids that they're safe out on the street with your officers?
That's my question.
That's what I want to know. I have a black child.
Chicago police officer Jason Van Dyke shot and killed 17-year-old Laquan McDonald.
For the first time in 35 years, a Chicago police officer is charged with first-degree murder.
An officer shot and killed 12-year-old Tamir Rice on Sunday.
Tamir Rice was playing with a pellet gun when officers arrived, and one of them opened fire within 2 seconds.
Grand jury decided not to indict the 2 officers who shot and killed 12-year-old Tamir Rice.
All lives matters, but you got to think about who dying out here.
prosecutors in Baltimore dropped all remaining charges against 3 police officers in the Freddie Gray case. Samuel DuBose was shot in the head Sunday after being pulled over for a missing license plate.
Officer Raymond Tensing has now been charged with murder and voluntary manslaughter.
We will never get a conviction in this case.
All we want is the same justice that they put against us whenever we go through certain trials and tribulations.
Philando Castile, a supervisor at a school cafeteria where kids loved him.
Police officer Geronimo Yanez shot Castile to death while he was in the car with his girlfriend and her 4-year-old daughter.
Jurors found Yanez was reasonable in his decision to shoot and kill Philando Castile during a traffic stop last July.
40-year-old Terrence Crutcher was killed on Friday when local officers responded to a call of a stalled vehicle in the middle of the road.
The death of 22-year-old Stephon Clark sparked nationwide protests.
Clark was hit 20 times. He was in his grandparents' backyard at the time.
And the same cop who killed him is back on the streets patrolling other communities, running through other people's backyards. I'm uneasy with that.
Tatiana is her name, and everyone is seeing that name on social media. There she is.
She was up playing video games with her nephew when she was shot and killed by former Fort Worth police officer Aaron Dean.
The Fort Worth police officer who shot at Tatiana Jefferson in her own home has been formally charged with murder.
Breonna Taylor.
A woman was shot and killed in her apartment.
George Floyd died in police custody after an officer pressed his knee into Floyd's neck.
The death of George Floyd hasn't just horrified people in America, but the effects of what's happened on a street corner in Minneapolis on the 25th of May are being felt around the globe. As hundreds of thousands of people take to the streets to protest, to demand racial equality and an end to police brutality.
There's been an outcry against racism around the world. From Argentina to England, Australia to Syria, and protests have united all 50 states of America. Most of these have been peaceful, but in some US cities they have turned violent and curfews were imposed.
The same scenes, decades apart. Protests, fury, anger, hurt spilling out across America and around the world. The cause: racism, police brutality, inequality. George Floyd was a 46-year-old father who was stopped by police in Minneapolis on the 25th of May, suspected of using fake money to pay for cigarettes. A white police officer was seen kneeling on Mr. Floyd's neck as he was pinned to the ground. He repeatedly cried, "I can't breathe." He was held down for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. After 6 minutes, he stopped moving. George Floyd's death has echoes of many others. Trayvon Martin was shot and killed by a man in Sanford, Florida, as he walked alone one evening. George Zimmerman was eventually charged but found not guilty. The acquittal led to public outrage. 18-year-old Michael Brown was fatally shot by police in Ferguson. Eric Garner was choked by a police officer. His dying words were, "I can't breathe." And there are more. America has a long, painful history of racism and segregation. Until the 60s, African Americans were made to live separately from white people and didn't have the right to vote. Nowadays, policing in America varies from state to state. In North Carolina, it takes just 16 weeks to become a police officer, half the time it takes to become a licensed barber in the state.
Y'all don't understand what it feels like as a black mom to release your child out into this world. It's scary.
Racism and inadequate training in a country awash with guns are a toxic mix. But in America now, the fight for justice, liberty, and equality has spread across the world and has become everyone's.